Okay, so today we're diving into something that's, well, it's really delicate, but also absolutely crucial. We're talking about what to do in that moment when someone trusts you enough to disclose a safeguarding concern. The whole point of this guide is to give you a clear path so you can respond with real confidence and, most importantly, with care.
You know, a safeguarding disclosure almost never starts with a big, dramatic announcement. It's usually quieter. It often begins with just a little invitation, something hesitant like, "It's been a bit rough lately." And really what that is, it's a test. They're trying to see if you're a safe person to open up to. And let's be honest, those moments can feel incredibly heavy, right? The world just kind of shifts on its axis a little. But that's why we're here. Our goal is to break it all down into a clear, manageable plan, so you're not left wondering, what do I do now? You'll know.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at that critical moment itself. Then, we'll get into the essential do's and the absolute don'ts. After that, we'll talk about how to navigate the conversation. And finally, what you need to do after it's over. Simple as that.
All right, let's dive into part one, the critical moment. This is all about learning to recognize that quiet invitation to talk, spotting those really subtle cues that someone's working up the nerve to tell you something big.
Think about a phrase like, "Something happened, but I don't want to cause trouble." That's not just a passing comment. It's them testing the waters. And if you brush it off, maybe because you're busy or you think, "Oh, they'll bring it up later if it's important," that could be a huge mistake. A tiny dismissal from you can slam that door shut, maybe for good. Okay, so you've recognized the invitation. What now? What's your very first move? Let's get right into the simple, practical steps you need to take.
And honestly, the process is surprisingly simple, just 4 steps. First, and this is huge, stay calm. Your reaction sets the tone for everything that follows. Second, create some space. Suggest moving somewhere a bit more private. Third, really listen. That means putting your phone away, turning away from your computer. And finally, number 4, just reassure them gently. Your calmness shows them that you can handle whatever they're about to say.
And listen, you don't need to come up with some perfect movie script line here. Simple, warm phrases like, "You're safe to talk to me," or even just, "Thank you for telling me this," are so powerful. It's not about giving a speech, it's about making them feel safe. Really, your number one job in that moment is just to listen. And I mean really listen. Not to solve, not to interrupt, don't try to finish their sentences for them. And hey, don't be afraid of a little silence. That quiet space is where they find the courage and the words to continue. It shows them you respect them enough to wait.
Right, so we've covered the do's, now let's flip it and talk about the don'ts. And this is just as critical, because avoiding a misstep can be as important as taking the right step.
This next list, it's pretty much not negotiable. First off, never go and confront the person they're talking about. Absolutely not. Next, don't promise total absolute secrecy. We'll get into why in a second. Also, don't promise you can fix it. And maybe the worst one, never ever tell them what they should have done. All of these things they shatter trust and completely undermine the process. Okay, on to section 4. Let's really drill down into the conversation itself. Because the words you choose, they matter a lot, especially when things get tough. So imagine this. They look at you and ask, "You won't tell anyone, will you?" Oof, that is probably one of the hardest questions you will ever face in this situation. It's a direct ask for a promise, and everything in you wants to say, "Of course not." But you just can't.
And here's why. Look at the difference. The mistake is saying, "Of course not, your secret is safe with me." You're making a promise you might have to break. The right way is to be honest but gentle. Something like, "I can keep this private, but just so you know, I might need to share it with our safeguarding lead to get you the right help." See the difference? It's not a threat. It's reframing it as, "This is how we get you the best possible support." It's about help, not betrayal.
Here's another really important point. Avoid leading questions. Your job is to receive their story, not to investigate it. So a leading question is something like, "Was it your supervisor who did that?" You're putting an idea in their head. Instead, use open questions, like, "Can you tell me a bit more about that?" That lets them tell their story, in their own words, on their own terms.
All right, that brings us to our final, crucial part. What happens after the disclosure? The conversation might be over, but your responsibility isn't. What you do next is just as important as what you did during the talk.
First things first, you have to record what was said. And I mean verbatim, word for word, using their language as much as you can. This is not the time for your own interpretations or your opinions or how it made you feel. The safeguarding team needs clean, hard facts to work with. That's it.
And who do you give those facts to? This person, the Designated Safeguarding Lead, or DSL. Every organization has one. They are the trained, official point person for all safeguarding stuff. Remember, your job isn't to be the hero who solves everything. Your job is to be the reliable messenger who gets the information to the expert. You are not in this alone.
And before that conversation ends, it's so important to be clear about what happens next. Take away the fear of the unknown for them. Just say something simple like, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to speak to our DSL today, and they're the person who organizes the right support. That little bit of clarity can relieve so much anxiety.
So when you boil it all down, what's your number one role? It's this: to be the steady adult in the room. The person who listens without rushing, who reacts without judgment, and who then acts without delay. That's the whole game.
And this last quote just says it all, really. Apprentices don't need perfection, they need presence. You don't have to have the perfect words, you don't need to have all the answers, you just need to show up, be present, listen, and take them seriously. Honestly, that's what makes all the difference in the world.
So, I guess the question I want to leave you with is this: how can you make sure you're that steady, present person when that moment arrives? Because it might. Just by going through this, you're already getting prepared. But what can you do in your day-to-day to be ready? It's something to think about.